My name is Nevzat Çelik, and I am the president and founder of Paris Advanced Research Center. Our center was founded as a think tank and a nonprofit association in Paris for social and academic benefits, and it's committed to developing independent research and meetings. Today, we are honored to host Mr. Egemen BAGIS. Mr. Egemen BAGIS, Turkish ambassador to Prague, Czech Republic, and he was a former minister of European Union Affairs, State and Chief Negotiator. Mr. Egemen BAGIS, welcome and thank you for joining our meeting on the topic of why Turkey is challenging Sweden and Finland NATO bids. Please allow me to introduce your brief information on the topic that we are going to discuss today. NATO is known as the most successful defense alliance in history, and Turkey became a member of NATO in 1952. Since then, the country keeps on committing the NATO mission and operation. Turkey, a staunch ally of NATO, considered the cornerstone alliance for the security of the Euro-Atlantic region. In reality, Turkey assumed the responsibility to protect the southern border of the alliance during the Cold War period. And Turkey mobilized the soft power using the deep historical ties with the population and countries in the West geography where NATO acts. Turkey provides for NATO mission in Bosnia-Herzegovina, Kosovo, and Afghanistan, has shown the country capacity and security power. 18 May on Wednesday, the two Nordic nations, Finland and Sweden, attempted joining the NATO after Russia-Ukraine war raged, and this move could rewrite Europe's security map. And the president of the Turkish Republic, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, said last week on Thursday that Turkey will say no to Finland and Sweden joining NATO because they support the terrorist organization that threaten Turkey's security. And we know that to approve Finland and Sweden for membership in NATO, all members, I mean the 30 members, must agree. And therefore, Sweden and Finland need Turkey approval in their attempt to join the organization. And Mr. Ambassador, could you explain to us first why Turkey opposes Finland and Sweden membership in the biggest Western military alliance, NATO?
Well, let's clarify Turkey's position. Turkey is not opposing, Turkey is not objecting, but Turkey is challenging their membership, and Turkey has some requests. As we all know, NATO is a military alliance where member countries are responsible for the well-being and safety of each other. And Turkey has been fighting against PKK terrorism for quite a long time. More than 40,000 innocent lives have been sacrificed in Turkey because of PKK terrorist organization, which is a Marxist, Leninist, communist organization that is responsible for attacking innocent civilians, Turkish police, Turkish military, schools, infrastructure, and European Union as an organization, as with all unanimity, has declared PKK as a terrorist organization. So has the United States. The US State Department has recognized PKK to be a terrorist organization. And this PKK terrorist organization has affiliates in other countries. For example, in Iraq, PJAK is the name that they would like to use. In Syria, they use YPG. If you look at the organizational structure, they're all governed by the same leadership. They celebrate the same anniversaries. They have very similar command structure, and they have common offices in many countries representing all of them. So it would be illogical to claim that they are separate organizations. They just have different names in different countries. And because on the list of terrorist organizations, you can see PKK and not YPG, some of our allies have chosen to ignore the resemblance or the similarities and try to treat YPG as if they are not part of PKK. But that's unacceptable. And Turkey has asked all new candidate countries of NATO, and Turkey is not a new member of NATO. Turkey is one of the most important and historical members of NATO. We've been there for almost 60 years, and we have the second largest military force within NATO after the United States. And we have asked them to clarify their position vis-a-vis our safety, our security, if they want to be our allies, if they expect us to protect them against other threats, including the Russian threat or Iranian threat or any Chinese threat, any other or universal threats, then we also expect them to protect us from the threats that are clear and present. We are, as we speak, suffering because of PKK terrorism. Economically, we're losing lives, we're losing assets. So we have we have introduced some conditions. So PKK and its affiliates is one of the conditions that both Finland and Sweden, as new candidate countries, have to declare that they will no longer support. Because in some of the raids, we have confiscated weapons in the hands of PKK terrorists or their ammunition, guns or weapons made in Sweden, for example. So we would want them to clarify their position and declare that they will not support terrorism in any way or means. Secondly, because we're going to be allies, we should not prevent each other from having access to our military capabilities. But Sweden and Finland had introduced some sanctions against Turkey after the Turkish military operations in Syria, and had enforced some sanctions to their own companies not to sell their military products to Turkey. That has to come to an end. So that has to be completed. I'll give you an example. When I first came as ambassador to Prague, Czech Republic was one of the 8 countries at that time that also had similar sanctions in terms of selling military equipment to Turkey. And I would go around to Czech decision makers and tell them, look, we can buy from the United States, we can buy from Russia, we can buy from China, we can buy from 20 of the 28 member countries at that time. We can buy from anyone we want. By imposing these sanctions, are you really penalizing or punishing my country, or are you penalizing your own industry? And the Czech decision makers at that time came to their senses with the support of the defense infrastructure here, and they lifted that sanctions. And now we have substantial trade between Turkey and the Czech Republic, just like we have with Poland, just like we have with Estonia, just like we have with Hungary. So many EU and NATO countries are buying and selling military equipment and defense-related vehicles and equipment to Turkey. So we would like to have similar relationship with Sweden and Finland. Not that we need anything that they make, but allies should not impose sanctions to each other. So it's a issue of principle, and we would like them to come to their senses and realize that tens of thousands of innocent lives have been lost because of PKK, and they should not in any way have any relationship with PKK or any of its affiliates. And Turkey has been very transparent. Our president has spoken on the phone with the Prime Minister of Sweden and also with President of Finland. We have invited their teams to come to Turkey, and we have explained to them our expectations. Now the ball is in their corner. They either have to accept or Turkey has made it very clear that we cannot support in a democratic country the entry of other countries that are seen as supporting to the terrorist organizations that are threatening the lives of our innocent citizens.
Thank you for you hearing me?
I do hear you, yes.
Okay, thank you for explaining. I understand that's valuable and understandable reason. So it is ongoing issue that Turkey still doesn't accept Sweden and Finland participation on NATO. And as I see,
let's not say Turkey doesn't accept. Turkey has conditions.
That's true.
And Turkey has given them a chance to fulfill these conditions.
And the latest development, as I read last night from The Economist, that Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan wrote an article to explain the position of Turkey, and which was very clear. And the last week, the Swedish and Finland delegation on Wednesday meet also with the President Erdogan spokesman Ibrahim Kalin. In this visit, that Turkey was demanding something from Sweden and Finland. And what is the Turkey demanded concrete step and condition to allow Finland and Sweden NATO membership, which you explained already, but do we have checklist that we already has been given to these two countries to?
I am sure there is a checklist given to those countries, and I'm sure they have it, and I'm sure they are evaluating it. And they have already made some statements at very high levels that they are working toward fulfilling Turkey's rightful expectations. As I said, the checklist is simple. They have to lift all the sanctions in terms of defense infrastructure sharing, and they have to declare that they will no longer support terrorism in any way or form. And the detailed checklist is in their hands, and but this is the summary.
Okay. Yeah, I think it will take time, and as we see on the international media, it's one of the hot topic for the moment. And I also would like to ask you another question, if you allow me.
Sure.
In many international media, Mr. Ambassador, we have seen the rise of Turkish drones, particularly after the war between Russia and Ukraine. For instance, on May 9, 2022, an article in New Yorker written by Stepan Witt, it says the Turkish drone that changed the nature of the warfare, the Bayraktar TB2 has brought precision airstrike capabilities to Ukraine and other countries. It's also a diplomatic tool enabling Turkey rise. Turkey, which has good relation with both Moscow and Kiev. Do you think the rise of Turkey military drones is strengthening its position and importance in NATO, which we also saw the last days? They also in Lithuania, if I am not wrong, they are raising the foundation to buy the drones for the Ukraine, and which we see it's really. Do you think it's really strengthening and it gives the Turkey another powerful tool to negotiate?
Well, the Turkish drones have been very successful. We've been using them for more than 10 years in our fight against PKK terrorism. We have supplied it to many ally countries. Now there's demand from all around the world, but the Azeris used it in the war in Karabakh, which was also very successful. Ukraine bought the drones almost a year and a half ago, and they have used it in their fight to protect their country, and they have seemed to be very happy because they have already written 2 songs about Bayraktar drones in Ukraine, which is very popular all around the social media. I'm sure you have seen. But we have provided the same drones to other NATO countries. For example, Estonian military has in their inventory the same drones that they bought more than a year ago. Poland has bought some. I think Hungary has bought some. But nowadays, there's more demand for these drones. Here in the Czech Republic, there's huge demand. Many Czech companies have approached my embassy to represent the Bayraktar company here. And I think the Bayraktar company in Turkey, their CEO, has already signed an MOU with a very prominent Czech company to prepare for the bid that's going to be the public tender that's going to be announced soon for the Czech defense capabilities. Many other NATO countries are now looking into it. There are other drones around the world that have same capabilities, but in terms of precision, in terms of price, in terms of quality, in terms of dependability, I think Bayraktar is one of the best in the world. It has proven itself, and we are, but it's a private company that is producing these drones, and they have their own standards and their own organizational culture. And of course, they're very much in line, working in parallel with the Turkish defense structure, with our Ministry of Defense, with our Directorate for Defense Industries. And they have proven themselves to be very successful. And there's a demand from all around the world for more and more of these products. And they are evaluating all these demands and cooperating with as many of them as they can. Has it increased Turkey's capabilities? Definitely. We have seen the results of this from our fight against terrorism, because the precision is great. It's very silent. They can operate from 2 to 3 kilometers above ground, and they can carry huge amounts of ammunition, thousands of tons of ammunition, and they can fly for 30 hours nonstop. So they can be in the air, patrolling and shooting when necessary. And they work with heat sensitivity. So when there's a group of terrorists on the ground, hiding in a cave, from their body heat generated, the drone can sense that and give the signal. And from a remote control, it can shoot with great precision and eliminate the threat.
Yeah, that's on. In fact, you very well done summary about the drone of the Turkey that it's made it. We know this is a private company, but we know also many reports has come out that Russia cannot advance in Ukraine because of the Turkish drone.
Well, I think the Turkish drones had a role in that, but there are other equipment in the hands of Ukraine, which have been provided by some other allies, and they also have helped.
And what is the secret of the successful of the Turkish drone? I mean, why not before, but like in last 15 or 20 years? Why now? And how it happens? What is the basement of making this drone, the technological background of the Turkey?
I would say determination, resolute, and believing in what you do. The family, the Bayraktar family, started this with everything they have got. They sold their house, they sold their cars, they financed this company to make it, and they actually solicited partnerships, cooperation, funding in the beginning. And many top businessmen of Turkey today are sorry that they did not invest in this company in the beginning. But very few countries had this capability. Israel has it, United States have it, Canada has it, some European countries have it, but Turkey did not have this capability before. And an MIT graduate, Selçuk Bayraktar, learned this technology, and he convinced his father and his brother to invest with whatever they had, and they started in a garage, and then it became a great success story. Now they are very much present in many countries, and they are providing new innovative solutions for the safety of humanity without risking human life. Because what the Bayraktar drone does is similar to what a jet fighter does, but the difference is you have to put a very well-trained live in a jet fighter. In the drone, you're not risking anyone's life, but everything is remotely controlled, and the technology at its best is utilized in terms of eliminating threats.
That's interesting story, and I would like to come back to about Sweden and Finland membership to NATO. And
I'm sure they will be interested in buying these drones when they join NATO. But first, they have to lift the sanctions against Turkey buying their products.
Yeah, I mean, it's understandable.
Everything in international diplomacy is based on reciprocity.
I see. But Mr. Ambassador, let's say if the Turkey really, and if they don't follow the list that Turkey have demanded from these two countries, what is the process? I mean, how long it will take, and if there is something to skip the Turkey for the NATO alliance? We know the rule of NATO, the Turkey country must be agreed, but we also see some murmuring about something that in the finally the Turkey will accept it or something. What do you think? I mean, what is your open?
Well, first of all, let's clarify one thing. One of the rules of NATO membership is democracy. And therefore, Turkey is a democratic country. In democracies, public opinion does matter. Turkey is not a sultanate. Turkey is not a kingdom. Turkey is not a country where just by the will of one individual or the will of its partners or its allies, Turkey can take a decision. Turkish public is furious with PKK terrorism. They will not allow any politicians' shortcomings in terms of giving access to countries that they think is supporting PKK terrorism, and they will be furious. Don't forget, we have elections in a year's time, and Turkish public is watching the decisions of their elected representatives very carefully. So no elected representative can go against the will of the people. Turkish public opinion has to be convinced. And the best way to convince the Turkish public opinion is to declare that terrorism will no longer be supported.
Yeah, but that's understandable. In fact, for the Turkish security, but we see all the Americans still providing arms to do like the PKK in northern Syria, which we see also the media that Turkey really opposed to this action that made by America. And as we see, the Turkey is hosting almost 5 million refugees from Syria, and it's a chaotic position in Syria. And you have
maybe
also,
not 5 million, but definitely more than 3.5 million Syrians have found a safe haven in Turkey because they didn't have any other place to go. And Turkey could not leave them out in the open because they would be killed by a dictator. See, Syria, in contrast to Turkey, is not a democracy where one man can decide to kill his innocent citizens by bombing his own cities, by gunshots, by discriminating against people's values, religions, ethnic background. But Turkey is a democracy where public opinion does matter. No matter how many criticism you might have for Turkey, no one can question the validity of the democratic standards in Turkey. You might like the elected leaders, you might not like them, but you have to give them the credit that they have been democratically elected over and over and over because they listen to their public opinion. And the public opinion would punish them if they didn't. So our allies, our partners, no matter where they are, have to understand our position. How would the United States react if a country that was providing military or financial assistance to Al-Qaeda wanted to join NATO? Would they allow it? How would Greece feel if some country that was providing military equipment to November 17, the terrorist organization that's responsible for so many innocent lives in Greece? How would Spain feel if some country that was providing assistance to the separatists in the Basque region? It is the same thing. Turkey naturally has to protect its national interests and the well-being of her people. because this is why we live. That's what we stand for.
Thank you. Well, yeah, it's understandable. One more question that has been asked one of our students that he was doing internship in our think tank. We know that the Turkey and Russia, in terms of economic, tourism relation, and also its security, they have kind of partnership, even they are not agree on Syria and Libya. The position of Turkey now against Sweden and Finland, do you think also that the Russia and Turkey will be more closer to against the NATO alliance? Is kind of the Turkey is
just 2
reshaping
minutes
its
ago,
position?
but if you realize, just 2 minutes ago, you were asking me if Turkish drones were stopping Russia. So it's okay when Turkey provides the drones to Ukraine, but it's not okay when Turkey is questioning the NATO membership of Sweden and Finland. Do you realize the oxymoron in this line of questioning? I'm not blaming you, but this is the international community and the academic community and the think tanks and some of our allies. When it comes to issues, both Ukraine and Russia are important trading partners for Turkey. Look, 25% of all tourists that visit my country are either Russian or Ukrainian. We are very much dependent on the Russian market for our agricultural products, but we're also very dependent on Ukraine for the grains that we buy. We buy a lot of scrap metal from Russia. We sell a lot of finished steel goods to Ukraine. I mean, it's a very complicated world. For us, we would like to see the war over as soon as possible because peace is much more profitable for us. That might not be the case for every country, but for Turkey, peace is much more profitable than war. So we would like to see the war end. We would like to see a ceasefire. That is why we brought together the foreign ministers of Ukraine and Russia in Antalya together. We are the only country that could bring the representatives at the highest level from the countries, from the two countries since the war began. We also hosted the meeting of the Russian negotiation team with the Ukrainian negotiation team because we really want to achieve a permanent ceasefire and a sustainable peace. But it's not easy. There are other countries, there are other forces, there are other interests that are also playing important roles, and we are trying to do our best. Having said that, I also want to ensure Turkey's responsibility is to protect first the well-being of her citizens, its own national interests, and the interests of its alliances. We are a proud member of NATO. The strategic interests of NATO are important for us, but the newcomers to NATO have to also respect our national interests, our well-being, our safety. They cannot continue supporting terrorist elements that are threatening our lives and then claim to be our allies. It's a very simple choice.
That's right. One more thing I just comes to my mind. I think, if I am not wrong, last Monday, yesterday, I think the president, Mr. Erdogan, has spoken to Zelensky and Mr. Putin also.
Yes, he did.
It seems really Turkey working for the peace intensively. And
I can clearly say there is no country working harder than Turkey to establish a permanent ceasefire and to establish peace between Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah, we see that. In fact, we see that, and also
Turkey enjoys the respect of both sides and the trust of both sides, and that's not easy to maintain.
Understand, and I think it's clear for us now what have been discussing and why the Turkey is it's demanding some checklist for these two countries. And as I see also, the Turkey said we will not do same mistake that we did to Greece. What does it mean? That what happens when the Turkish side say this?
Well, let's underline the fact that Turkey has always supported the open door policy of NATO. But we also have sensitivities. In the past, Greece had withdrawn from the military arm of NATO, and France also had withdrawn. But then they wanted to come back. And when they came back, some promises were made to Turkey in terms of these two countries not supporting terrorist activities and some other relations. But unfortunately, these promises were not kept. So we are not going to take promises made behind closed doors. This has to be a very transparent, policy binding guarantees to make sure that we will not have to feel the same feeling again.
Something like written, like an agreement that has to be promised.
That's the details of the checklist that has been given to the two countries that have the aspiration to join NATO. But I can also tell you, Turkey is very realistic and Turkey is very pragmatic, and Turkey is not mixing apples and oranges. We did not say we can only allow their NATO membership in exchange for our European Union membership. Turkey has been trying to join the EU since 1958. As a matter of fact, as former EU minister and chief negotiator of Turkey, this is something I know quite well. And I have always argued that Turkey's determination to join the EU should have its rightful place in the Guinness Book of Records, because no country has waited that long to join any other international organization. So I think our allies have to expect, should also understand Turkey's sensitivity vis-a-vis Europe. But when it came to Finland and Sweden NATO membership, we never mixed NATO and EU issues, because NATO is a military alliance, EU is economic, democratic, social group. So we're not mixing apples and oranges. We're not trying to push our allies. Both Finland and Sweden are members of European Union. We could have demanded things from them if it was a bargaining process, as some in Western media try to claim. This is not a bargaining. This is just ensuring our safety, our national interests, and the well-being of our citizens. That's all we expect. At the end of the day, NATO is a military strategic alliance, and allies have to protect each other. So, for example, sometimes Greek decision makers make some statements that they're afraid of Turkey. This is the funniest joke in the recent era, because both Turkey and Greece are members of NATO. We have responsibilities to protect each other against outside threats. That is why we should try to enjoy this neighborhood, the beautiful beaches of the Aegean on both sides, and the great blue skies. What is there not to share? But sometimes, especially when Turkey plays an active role in international diplomacy, we can see some allegations from Greece that Turkey is using the airspace in a wrong way, or this and that. But that doesn't really make sense, because we're both NATO member countries. It's NATO airfield. It's not Turkish, it's not Greek, it's common. But unfortunately, in international relations, sometimes you have this kind of politicians that somehow exaggerate the situation and exploit it for domestic political gains. But in the case of Sweden and Finland, Turkey has not done that. Turkey is just demanding security clearances of these two countries, and to ensure that they will no longer support in any way or form any terrorist activity.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador. You really have clarified everything that we had in our mind. And I think I asked all the questions that even I received from our internships. And thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And I hope we will talk again, and hopefully we'll see you in Paris too. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Have a good day. And
Thank
my
you.
best wishes to all your students.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.